As we move forward in truth, the devil moves forward in his deceptions. They get better and better and better. If we don't know what the Word actually says and teaches, we will fall for the better deceptions that are still yet to come.
I had a question related to this study too. Just in Revelation 12, speaking about the woman and the remnant of her seed that the devil went to make war with, but the woman was, sent into the wilderness for a certain amount of time.
Times and a half, 1,260 days, yeah.
Yeah, and so what are your thoughts on who that woman is and when this might have happened or will happen?
And I watched a Jonathan Cahn, the dragon, and what is it called? The dragon prophecy. Yeah, and this is what he's claiming, that this is talking about Israel, the modern day Israel, and the dragon is always persecuting modern day Israel. He's got that thing totally flipped on its head. Is the woman fled into the wilderness? Those that have, it says, that keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Yeshua. I have to ask the question, if that's Israel, how is it that they have the testimony of Yeshua? They don't fit the description. They've rejected.
It looks a little bit. Sorry, it looks a little bit different. Like it's saying the woman is someone different. Because in 17 it says the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So it looks like they're two separate people.
And that's true. It's talking about the remnant of the woman, but it also says to the woman was born a male child, and he was received up into heaven. So if you reject the child that the woman has, then you're not part of the family. And that's my whole point and if we just take isolated scriptures by themselves, we can make them say just about whatever we want. When Jonathan Cahn, and I wouldn't talk openly about Jonathan Cahn because I don't like to do that, but because there's so much deception, and I believe that most of what comes out of his mouth is deception, and I say that reverently, but I say it because I've seen enough of what he says. He totally misuses scripture completely. He's trying to justify going to battle for Israel. Everything he does has everything to do about Israel. And, the millennial reign, everything. And it's because he's not reading the words of Yeshua. And it's very clear because he misquotes what he's talking about. So
it's also because he believes it's also because he's Jewish himself, and he came from the Jewish side, and he thinks that everything should revert. Oh, it's because it's the Jewish, it's the Jews, and it's not.
Yeah. See, what he's not saying, what he's not teaching is that the Jews have been persecuted for 2,000 years. That's what he's saying, is they're being persecuted for all this time period. But they're not being persecuted, they're suffering under the curse that was written in the law for rejecting Yeshua. And that's what he said. He cursed the fig tree. It's amazing that they forget those verses. They conveniently don't quote those verses. which is the very word of Yeshua. He said, let no fruit grow on you forever. He didn't say, let no fruit grow on you for 2,000 years or until the United Nations makes you a nation. See, there's so much scripture that they just won't look at. And so when you quote these scriptures to these people that believe that, they've got nothing to say about it. And so he quotes that in this movie, and Dinesh D'Souza, he's just following right along with them. He's all into it. And now we've got people like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owen, who I don't believe know all the truth, but they're in his face. They're saying, this is wrong, what we're doing there with the Jewish people. This is not what Scripture is talking about. And that was kind of my point today, is to prove that the New Testament teaches that anyone that is adopted into the family is of the seed of Abraham. It's not Israel of the flesh. It's Israel of the spirit through Yeshua. So to claim that Israel has been persecuted and they fit the description in there is totally twisting what the Scripture is saying. Now, if we take the time times and a half and the 1260, so if we go, and I want to address your question because just to be clear what you're asking, because I'm not sure if we go to verse 6 of chapter 12, and this is what he's quoting. This is what Jonathan Cahn and others now are quoting, because Jonathan Cahn is a big name in the Messianic movement, so all the other Messianics are going to jump on this bandwagon. We can expect it. That's what we're going to hear. It says, then the women fled into the wilderness, and she had a place prepared by God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So now if we go up to verse 14, and the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and a half a time from the presence of the serpent. So I would propose that we've just seen 2 places in Scripture that talk about the same time period. Time times and a half is a 3.5-year period, which is the same time frame as 1,260 days. Now we're talking biblical months now that are 30 days long, 12 months in a year. This does not work on a Gregorian calendar. It's impossible because we have 365 days in a year. It doesn't add up to 1,260. So these 2 time periods are talking about the same time period. Now, if we drop down in verse 5 of chapter 13, it says, and he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemy, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. 42 months is exactly 3.5 years, time times and a half, and 1,260 days. So if we're asking the question, is that Israel there, then it has to be Israel here in chapter 13. Now, to make matters worse, if we go back to chapter 11, it says, then I was given a reed, chapter 11, verse 1. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles, and they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days. Same time period. So these prophecies are all tied together. But it doesn't stop there. If we go back to Daniel chapter 12, it tells us in Daniel chapter 12, verse 7, then I heard a man clothed in linen who was above the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swore by him who lives forever and ever, it shall be for a time, times, and a half a time, and when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all these things shall be finished. I propose that the holy people, that's talking about this time, times and a half, are the seed of the woman in the time of the end. Not the house of Israel in the flesh, but the house of Israel that have been grafted into through Christ, through the ones that accepted the male child that was caught up to God's throne. So I believe they're twisting Scripture to make this Israel of the flesh. It is not. It is Israel of the Spirit. So then when is this time period? It's in the time of the end. It's not been fulfilled in history. These time periods are at the end. They're not years as far as 1260 years is concerned for those that have looked at those prophecies. They're actual days, 1260 days. Those are time periods in the time of the end. Also, we want to connect one more to that. One more dot to that is in Daniel chapter 7. So if we don't understand Daniel chapter 7, and I can guarantee you that these new modern prophets are not looking at these prophecies the way they should be. It says in verse 25, Daniel chapter 7, and he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, and shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints, God's people, those that have accepted Yeshua, shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and a half a time. It's not talking about the Jewish people. It's those that have accepted Yeshua at the time of the end. That's where these time frames are falling, in the time of the end. That's my position on it. And that doesn't mean that I'm the final authority. That's my position after looking at these as close as I can. I don't know, does that kind of answer, tells you what my position is, I think.
Right. Does that mean that in that case, it's not necessarily even that the woman, in your opinion, is Messianic Jews? It's...
Well, anyone that accepts Yeshua is, from New Testament writings, those were broken off the tree were the unbelieving Jews, unbelieving leaders. Any of the Jewish nation at the time of Yeshua, according to Paul, were broken off the tree. Those that were Jews or Israelites and the leaders that accepted Yeshua, it said many of the priests believed on Yeshua. That tells us that. Well, those branches remained on the tree. They carried the message forward. Then the Gentiles that accepted Yeshua were grafted into the same tree. Always that God is trying to bring us all under one house. That's his plan. He doesn't have a broken family. He wants to bring us all in the same house. And so it moved forward from those that accepted Yeshua. So from the time of Yeshua, God's people were those that accepted Yeshua. So if we're outside of the acceptance of Yeshua, we're still either grafted out, if you were a Jew and you were grafted out, or you're grafted in. There's not two groups today. It's God's house are those that accepted Yeshua. That's what Paul was trying to explain to the Jewish people. He always went to the synagogues, but lo and behold, he always got thrown out of the synagogue because that was not what they wanted to hear. Well, if we walked into a synagogue and gave the same message that Paul gave, we'd be thrown out of the synagogue today as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is nothing has changed. But people are not seeing that. No, same story, same circumstances, same everything. You accept Yeshua, but the problem is now, and this might answer your question a little bit more specifically. As we get closer to the end, the deceptions are going to get better. So, now that I've accepted the Sabbath, Satan's got to come up with another story. He's got to come up with another deception. Now that he's accepted the feast, he's got to come up with another deception. Well, what's the other exception? Well, when the temple gets built, I'm going to get to go to Jerusalem and sacrifice again. That's another deception. Even though I've accepted Yeshua, I know many Messianics that think that they're going to be obliged to go to Jerusalem when the temple's getting rebuilt. That's what I'm saying. As we move forward in truth, the devil moves forward in his deceptions. They get better and better and better. If we don't know what the Word actually says and teaches, we will fall for the better deceptions that are still yet to come. The more truth we know, the better deceptions he has to have. And that's what we're seeing. That's exactly what we're seeing today. And Israel is at the heart of the deception that is so prevalent today. It disturbs me, and that's why, somebody might say, well, you're coming on pretty strong. It's getting too late in the game. We've got to get back to the actual truth, and we've got to say it for what it is. Because so many people are falling for these lies. And I keep saying to people, show me from the Word where what I'm saying is wrong. Just show me from the Word.